This is the story of the night I colluded with our country's most notorious enemy. I was 16 years old, and I had a job bussing tables at a diner in Gettysburg. One night, during the battle reenactment, the Confederate Army came in for dinner. And they were all dressed in their uniforms and battle gear. And one of these soldiers started chatting with me. And he told me they were all worried because it was raining and it was going to be pouring all night long. And they didn't think they could handle sleeping on the ground in their battlefield tents. You know, foreign soil issues. So this Confederate asked me if I knew anyone local who had a barn they could all sleep in. And I told him, I'm sorry, I don't know anyone with a barn. And I went back to bus my tables. And then I remembered I had an ex-boyfriend with a barn. And a little devil appeared on my shoulder and told me it would be hilarious if I sent the only foreign army to ever invade Gettysburg to go occupy my ex-boyfriend's barn. So I got one of our paper placemats and I wrote down his address and the directions. And I gave this placemat to my new Confederate friend. And I told him, I want you and your entire Confederate army to go check out this barn. And when you get there, make sure you tell them Michelle sent you. And he said, thank you, this is great, but before we show up at this house, could you please call them? And I wasn't expecting him to ask me that. So I had to think quickly. And I said, no, I can't call them because my boss doesn't let me use the phone here. And the Confederate said, we understand we don't want to cause a problem at your job, so we're just gonna go check out this barn. So I was just dying to get off so I could go home and call my friend Stacy and tell her how I just punked my ex-boyfriend. And I did it in a historically accurate way. And I was having in my imagination this fantasy of the Confederate Army charging onto this property, doing a rebel yell. And minutes before quitting time, I grab some dishes off a table and I look up. And my Confederate soldier is coming back in the front door. And I froze. I was just standing there in the middle of this diner thinking, I am in so much trouble. And this Confederate zeroed in on me, and he started moving very briskly in my direction. And let me tell you, the dark, stormy night in the background made this moment so scary. And the Confederate gets to me, and he says, I came all the way back here to tell you in person that we thank you so much. It's worked out great. And he went on to tell me the barn I sent him to was filled with hay, but they had an uncle with an empty barn, and it was going to fit all of them perfectly. So for one night in Gettysburg, I got involved with the Confederacy. And I guess you can say I prevented their invading army from sleeping on the wet, muddy American soil.